Welcome back to Guns Out Minnesota. Today I'm talking about a couple products sent out to the channel by Sunwayfoto. I'm going to start off with the XB-52 Arca ball head here. Here's some of the stats. The load capacity, very impressive at 66.13 pounds. That's awesome. Base screw is a UNC 3/8 16. The clamp type is a screw knob style clamp on the Arca. The height is 3.5 inches, the diameter of the ball is roughly 2 inches, and the base is 2.67 inches. The weight overall is 24.09 ounces. And so you can see here it does have some awesome features on there, as well as a bubble level, which appears to be removable if you needed to take that off for any particular reason. There's also some numerical indicators on the top. If you know how to use those and you know what those are for, it's nice to have those on there. Now that bubble level itself is a pretty useful thing for me, especially if I'm attaching a rifle in there. With cameras, I use gimbals and that usually self-levels, but with rifles, I like to have the level in there. I also like the pan feature. The pan is very, very smooth. It's the smaller dial there, but if you wanted to take this entire unit off, you want to take it off the 3/8 head, you would just lock the pan feature until it's tight. It's got a nice grippy texture on all of the dials, and you give it a twist, move it like that, lefty loosen, and it comes off and it'll expose that 3/8 mounting screw there, or bolt. That's how you get it off. And then you can put it back on, or you could put an adapter if you wanted to. I've done that before to get it to a 1/4 inch on a smaller size. But that's the 3/8 side there. And keeping that pan feature locked, I go all the way down, all the way tight, and then I can loosen it up again and go back to panning, and it's just very, very smooth, very glassy. And I'm just exposing some of the indicators and the degree markers there with the chevron and the arrow. Kind of tells you where you're at with that if you need to know how a shot's going to pan out. Now also one thing there, I'm showing you there's a very small dial there, and that's going to adjust the tension on the ball head and the dial itself as you're going back and forth. You probably don't need to use that much. The ball head moves around very, very nicely. It's very smooth, and I think the dial itself, the texture on there, I have no issues with it whatsoever. It's been very, very good to use, whether it was cold or warm, or my hands were a little bit wet from the rain. Can usually get a good grab on it. This is a cool feature. There are 2 notches, and so depending on what you're putting in, if you're putting in a phone or phone mount, it'd be very easy to go from different formats with the same mount. If you have an Arca mount, like a Sunwayfoto Arca mount for a phone holder, you could go between those 2 different forms of filming with your phone very quickly without switching out mounts, and so you could just tilt it over. With my gimbal, sometimes I use it as kind of a crane shot depending on what I'm filming, and that's pretty cool because it's really, really smooth. Again, the pan is very, very smooth, and I found that to be a very nice feature. As long as I watch out for those shadows with the filming aspect, that is super cool. But it has other applications as well, guys. It's not just for that. Sometimes actually if I'm packing it up in something like a bag and my overall footprint, I just need it to be a little bit less tall, I can just move it to the side and it reduces the head size a little bit there for me too. But mostly for filming. I think that's the number one area where that just has a big advantage in the 2 notches there. Different styles of filming and shots you might use. Now I'll talk about the clamp here. The clamp is the Titan clamp, and that is the CC-01 pipe clamp. You can see that there. This appears to be a really solid build. It's all metal, other than the little foam that grabs onto the pipe or the tripod. In my case, that's what I use it for, is grabbing onto a tripod leg. T60-61 aluminum, and then I think there's some 304 in there as well for other parts, but that's a very solid build. Great build construction. Not concerned about my cameras falling off. I have a double male ended 1/4 inch adapter on the bottom because this one does actually accept 1/4 inch as well as 3/8 on the bottom of it, and you can mount it up in lots of different ways. You can add a double male thread on the bottom for whatever unique setup you have with a filming process, a spotter, or maybe a Kestrel. You maybe want to attach a Kestrel or a pocket Osmo, like something that I do very often, or this right here, which is the Sunwayfoto PC-01, and this can hold phones, tablets, small 2-in-1s. It's got a really great expansion on it, but I like to use it as my camera monitor, or if I'm going to use my phone for data when I'm shooting a little bit of spotting. This is a really cool tool to be able to add onto my tripod, because I can shoot right off my tripod, right off the top. And then I can have my phone there if I'm using it as a monitor or a camera system for my long-range target cameras. There's just so many applications. I found this to be one of the most useful little tools, and I use it just about every single time I go out to film or shoot. It's just very, very versatile, and it's very useful. And seeing as I use my phone very often to manage this Pocket Osmo camera, it fits right on the side like that, and depending on what I'm doing for projects, this is actually the best way for me to have a readily accessible monitor that I can move around quickly, I can detach quickly, and it's right in the right spot for me most of the time, or I can navigate the clamp around, and so it is in the right place and the sun isn't glaring on it. The tension arm and dial there seems very, very well built. It's easy to get a good grab onto it. It's not so big that it's going to interfere. You can get into tighter spaces. But again, this is an all metal construction, so it holds onto things really well. Same thing with that CC-01, that's all metal, and that's one of the things I really like. I get sick of using plastic. I've had so many brass threads rip out of plastic pieces because of the hot and cold of Minnesota. I just can't trust them, and so I need metal. And one of the things that Sunwayfoto does is they use so much aluminum and metal and steel at times. That's a solid decision because I find it doesn't strip out. It doesn't warp on me. It works well in the cold and in the hot. And because I do a lot of shooting, like right here, I need that tripod to function well. I need my clamp to function well with the weight that I'm putting on there. And Sunwayfoto is just really rugged material. I think for the price, the build quality is really high. The fit and finish is really high. And when I throw on a rifle that weighs a few extra pounds like this with an optic, and I'm throwing on Sunwayfoto SM80 or 76 in this video, when I'm throwing all that stuff on there, I need to know that it can take the weight and it's not going to break. And I find, almost all the time, the Sunwayfoto gear can put up with the amount of weight and stress I'm putting on it, whether it's filming or shooting, and I like it a lot. So go check out Sunwayfoto on Amazon. All these products, you can find them there, really good prices, and I'm very, very proud to be an owner of these. I have a lot of pride of ownership of my Sunwayfoto gear. It is my favorite company when it comes to outdoor shooting tripods, Arca heads, ball heads, and then also just random outdoor gear that's maybe a little bit more functional for filming in harsher environments. I've had a great experience with them so far, and I can highly recommend the company as a whole and so many other products. Check out my channel if you want to see more stuff from Sunwayfoto and Amazon if you're ready to go buy.